Welcome to Actual Scale Modelling. For my next build, I'm building this Airfix Vixen FAW2 scale 148. Now, this is an order kit from Airfix. In the box, we have the clear parts, 2 carapaces, some lights, the weapons, the wings and lower parts and upper parts of the fuselage. You'll see how big the model is going to be, and the main fuselage and engines. The instructions are really good, detailed. So first of all, we have the decal plan and paint schemes. There's 4 options to choose from, and then the instructions themselves. So it's the older layout for Airfix, so you haven't got the colour coding and so forth on these, but they are nice and clear. And at the back, with decal markings again. Yep. And then finally, the decals themselves. So quite a good selection of decals to put on if you wish. Even though it's a big kit, it shouldn't take me that long to do. So I'll go and prep it. To begin with, like all my other builds, I am going to be painting on the sprue. So I'm using 43 medium grey by Revit Aquacolor, and this is the main colour of the cockpit. Now the instructions are calling for black for the main colour. I didn't look at any pictures. I thought I'd just do this how I wanted it without any reference pictures, just for a change really. So I thought the grey would stand out better. So I'm moving on to Revit Aquacolor 15 yellow, and this is for the ejection ring pool. So just tiny little loops that are getting painted yellow, then black will be going on afterwards once it dries. And I'm using Revit Aquacolor 08 black for the outside of the main seat. So there's 2 seats to make up here. I'm using Revit Aquacolor 88 ochre brown, and this colour I'm using for the cushions of the seats. Now there's probably some debate whether they should be black or whatever, but I just like the colour, to tell you the truth, and I think it works well as a cushion. Going back to the injection ring pool, I'm using Revit 08 matte black, and I'm taking a cocktail stick, just dipping it in and painting the black ring loops that go around the actual pool. It's better to use a cocktail stick in this, you get more control. Onto the instrument panel, and I'm using Aquacolor 301 white silk, and I'm just painting all the dials. So the background of the dials are going to be white, so just little dots around. Remember, the panel itself is painted in the grey colour beforehand. Then I'm moving on to Tamiya's XF56 metallic grey, and this is for the little panels around the armrests and the instrument panel as well, to highlight them, to bring them up. I'm using Tamiya's X23 clear blue for the horizontal display in the centre of the display panel, the control panel even. And then X25 clear green for some switches and dials. And finally X27 clear red as well. Now these clear paints, I found it's better to use the clear paints on the instrument panel, because it gives a sort of glassy effect once they're on, and it just improves the overall look of the panel. For all the other switches, it's 08 matte black Revit Aquacolor, and again using my cocktail stick here just to paint them on. For the markers on side of the seat, I'm using Revit Aquacolor 15 yellow, and these are just little dots I'm putting on the side of the actual seat. Sometimes you get decals for this, but the kit doesn't have any for it, hence why I'm painting it on. I'm using Revit Aquacolor 97 for the lever housing that sits on the side of the pilot. So before I carry on with the main build, I decided to make up some seat belts. So I've got here some Tamiya's 6mm masking tape, and I've taken two strips, stuck it onto each other, so this sticky side is on both sides, bonding each other together. Then I'm painting it in Revol Aquacolor 46 Native Olive, and I'll be painting both sides of that. Once it's dry, taping it down and using a straight rule to cut thin strips off. Depending how big your seat is, will depend how thick the strip is that you're going to be cutting. So I'm just taking my hobby knife and run it along the edge of the straight rule to achieve a strip. And once I've done that, I'll just tidy up the edges by same technique, using my straight rule just to snip them off. And once that's done, I'll just take them apart, then cut them in lengths that I need for the seat belts. So it's back to the seats, and it's bonding the two halves together first of all. As you can see, I've already made one up. The bottom cushion goes in first. It goes on a slight angle, but the location points for these does point down to help you to achieve the proper angle when you place it in. And then it's on to the back part of the seat in the headrest. That just slots in before placing on these seat belts. Now I use a little bit of super glue here on a slither of belt, and just anchor it on, then lay it down. I'll start with the back first, then I move on to the seats and do the same technique, just a little bit of glue anchored on, and any excess just bend it over onto the seat or cut it off. Now I didn't notice until after I'd done this, there's actually a little hole that you can put the seat belts through, but I missed that, so it doesn't matter, you know, as long as they're on there. And once they're on, move them into position just before the glue sets. Now to give the seatbelt definition, depth and movement, feel of movement, I'll place another two belts on the middle part of the back, going up diagonally towards the shoulder area of the harness. So you're creating a 5-point harness for the seatbelt. So once the seat belts are in, it's time to put in the ring pull. So the injection seat ring pull at the bottom and the one overhead at the top, they're just sitting in two little location areas, points that shouldn't give you too much trouble. The top one has to slide in between the two seat panels. You may need to trim it a little bit to fit, depending how good the bond that you had putting the seats together. Back to the seat belts, I'm using Revol Aquacolor 90 Silver here, and what I'm doing is I'm painting in the buckles for the harness. So on the back it's just two thin lines, just keep it simple, and on the seat itself, and just getting a heavier glob of paint on my brush and just dabbing it onto the crossover where the seat belts touch to simulate a buckle. Onto the cockpit build, and I use XF56 metallic grey from Tamiya to paint the pedals, the foot pedals, and these are the first to go on the front plate. Then it's time to make up the instrument panels themselves. Now it's quite a strange shape, this cockpit, because it's a double-sided cockpit for the Vixen. So the way Airfix have done it is quite ingenious, I think, but it means that there's angles that you're probably not used to building inside a cockpit, so be careful that you follow the instructions. Here I'm using Revol Aquacolor 93 Copper as a tiny little dot goes on the side. It's a little cyclo dish that you put on first, then paint. Now it's time to put on the back plate to the main base, and that just slots in to two recess points. It's designed in a way that if it doesn't fit, it means it's not straight, so you should be okay. Just dry fit it to make sure that you're happy with it first though. Next to go in is the control stick, and it just slots in the middle there. And once that's in, it's time to put on the back panel. Now I had a problem with this back panel, I couldn't get it to fit straight. Now on the side of the main unit there's a strip of plastic. I think it's meant to be a guide to get the back panel to sit, but that was interfering with the actual back panel going in. So in the end I just took my knife and took it off, and the back panel fitted okay after that. So then the next part is the dividing wall of the cockpit. Now this felt a bit strange putting it on because it sits quite high in it on the central column, but that's how it goes. It took a while for me to figure that one out. I think I just confused myself really, but I got there in the end. So I'm carrying on building the cockpit here. This is for the bomber section, and I'm painting the outside of the house in 43 medium grey, like the main colour. First of all, I'm using Tamiya's X25 clear green to simulate the glass inside the eyepiece that the bomber sees through. So it's just two little dots that go inside, and then it's time to fit that panel, and that just goes behind the instrument panel and just slots in. There's a little recess point and runs down the side for it to go in. For the next dividing wall, there's a little panel that has to go in first, so just be careful with it because it is a small part. You could lose it if you're not careful. For the switches I'm using Revit Aquacolor 31 Fiery Red. I wanted a harsher red for this one, and then moved on to Tamiya's X24 Clear Yellow to give it contrast. To fit the side panel, it was a little bit tricky. It slides alongside the actual seat, then the location point is on the hard edge of the other wall, and there's a thin strip that then butts up against the main instrument panel on the other side of the cockpit. So it's essential that you dry fit this first to make sure you know where you're putting it. I'm using 08 matte black from Revit Aquacolor for the other control stick that's for the bomber position, and that's just for the grip. And once it's painted and dried, it just pops onto the side of the bomber on the control panel. There's a little location point for that. Then it's onto the seats, and they just pop inside, running down the back. The location is a little groove down the back, and it should just fit on. You may need to press down a little bit firmly to make sure it's in position, and then it's onto the second seat, and it's the same again with the first one. It should just slide in without any problems. And that completes the cockpit build. Now I was very surprised, pleasantly surprised I should say, with the amount of detail inside this cockpit, because it's a basic kit. You know, I was happy to see so much detail. Because of that, I'm going to be splitting this build into parts. Initially I was just going to do it in one big main part, but I thought it would be a shame not to show you all the detail that went into the cockpit and the processes of it. So this will be part 1. In part 2 I'll be going on to the main fuselage and fitting the cockpit, the undercarriage and so on. I don't know how many parts there will be to this build, possibly only 2, maybe 3 or 4, I just don't know now. So keep your eye out for those. But in the meantime, why don't you check out my other videos on the channel? There might be something there that will interest you. Subscribe to the channel for any updates, particularly for this build as well. Throw me a like if you enjoyed what you saw here. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.